Hello and welcome back to London Cycle Routes. Today I'll be showing you how to cycle from Oval in South London to Kensington in West London. This ride takes about half an hour and you can do the whole thing on quiet streets and protected cycle lanes. By public transport, the same journey takes more like 40 minutes and requires a change of line or bus. So cycling is a brilliant way to make this trip. If you find this video useful or you just enjoy watching it, then please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as I try to make new videos just like it every week. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to everybody who supports the channel on Patreon. If you'd like to contribute too, then you can find a link in the description below the video. Alright, let's get going. So we're starting near Oval Tube and we're going to turn into Claylands Road. Note the really well used outdoor seating and planting here, which was introduced as part of the Oval low traffic neighbourhood a couple of years ago. I think it looked absolutely fantastic in the sun with people using it outside the cafe, and the quiet streets are making it really easy to cycle around here as well for everyone. I definitely love it if my local parade of shops could get a makeover like that too. As we're going to Kensington today, we'll need to get over the river, and to do that we'll first enjoy this quiet ride through the LTN here and then take Cycleway 5 to Vauxhall Bridge. After that there's a neat way to get through Westminster and we'll then pick up a major protected cycleway. It's a beautiful day to do this ride actually, and I really enjoyed reviewing the footage from it as there are so many people out on bikes. While this channel is mostly about showing you how to get to places, I also just enjoyed documenting the state of London streets, and particularly when they're looking this gorgeous. This protected cycleway down Harleford Road is a brilliant example of, I think, what we should be building more of, though of course do watch out for cars poking their nose out of the side roads. It quickly takes us to this big junction by Vauxhall station with a bike crossing, and if you ever want to see lots of people riding bikes in London, this is one of the best places to come and watch. At peak commuting time on weekdays, this junction is way over capacity because a lot of the nicer cycle routes from South London into Central go through here. Hopefully it should get a bit of relief by the end of this year though, 2025, as TfL are putting protected cycle lanes on Lambeth Bridge and improving the junctions at either end. That's just along the river and it will create more options for people coming this way. That'll be great as it can sometimes be a bit overcrowded back there with bikes, and sometimes everyone struggles to get through in one light phase. Lambeth Bridge will be a godsend I think, and it does already have temporary lanes on it in fact during the construction period, which aren't too bad and certainly better than the situation before. I'm currently thinking I'll probably leave doing videos over it until the works are complete there, but if enough people are interested in seeing how the temporary ones work, I guess I could do a video too, so let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in seeing. For now though, I'm sticking to Vauxhall Bridge, which you just saw we went over, and it has a protected lane over it too. That lane continues on the other side of the bridge briefly. I wish it went all the way to Victoria and even connected up to Cycleway 3 at Hyde Park corner. There's a lot of space, it could probably do that quite easily. It seems like an obvious thing to do, unfortunately it doesn't, so we've turned down John Islip Street instead. John Islip, by the way, was the prior of Westminster Abbey, assuming office in the year 1500 during the time of Henry VII, and he also served under Henry VIII. John Islip Street is generally nice and quiet. I've tried to work out why that is, and I think it's mostly because it's the boundary of the congestion charge zone, so drivers don't really tend to use it as a shortcut as it's quite an expensive one. We did turn off it though down Bullinger Street. That's now two-way for cycling thanks to a relatively recent change by Westminster Council. Westminster have unveiled a few projects recently, but they've been really taking their time actually building anything, so hopefully we'll see something new from them in the next year or so. Generally, this route into Westminster is pretty quiet, even at commuting times. There are a few bus routes down it, but generally it's not a problem. It can sometimes go a bit wrong though, and I'd say the state of it today isn't fantastic. The main issue today is actually just coming up ahead here after the junction. A bunch of coaches from out of town have decided to park all over the double yellow lines and the no loading markings, particularly at the junction up ahead. And that's really narrowed the carriageway, restricted the sight lines, and is just kind of dangerous and illegal. You might have noticed it holding up that bus back there a bit, as well as it had trouble squeezing past a parked coach. Fortunately, this isn't typical, and usually the route is perfectly comfortable, but this kind of thing does sometimes happen, so just be aware of it. You should be able to turn onto Victoria Street like we did there, and then left into Storey's Gate here in a single movement when you get a green light without interacting with any traffic. One thing that I would say about Storey's Gate is that the traffic lights for bikes at the end of it, which we're coming up to just here, have a pretty ridiculous wait time, and I do sometimes find myself waiting there for several minutes, although we were of course really lucky when we came through there and got an immediate green. To be honest, a lot of people ignore those lights, and I'm not really sure why that junction is signalised at all, as it is basically two quiet side roads joining a main road. As promised though, we're now on Cycleway 3, which is a nice protected route running all the way east-west through central London. This section down Birdcage Walk is pretty gorgeous, with the trees from St James's Park forming a sunny canopy above us. I love seeing cargo bikes out and about in London, and they're an increasingly common sight. That one in front of us there seems to be carrying at least one child, which I love. It's a great example, I think, of why protected and low traffic routes like this are super important, to create conditions so that everyone who wants to be able to cycle can do so. You probably wouldn't want to ride something like that on a big main road without protection, but as soon as you get a cycle lane like this, or a low traffic neighbourhood or similar, it becomes an option. I've not got a cargo bike myself, but I have tried out the rental ones that you can find in some London boroughs. There's a scheme called R-Bike, and they basically have these dockless electric cargo bikes which you can rent for about £3 an hour, and you just book them using an app. This is not an advert, by the way, I just really like the scheme. I used one the other day to lug some compost from a garden centre, but we also hired one after work when it was sunny for a couple of hours earlier this month, and went for an impromptu picnic with my partner and son, who loves riding in it, and we'll definitely be doing that again because it was pretty idyllic. If you want to see if there's one of those near you, then just download the R-Bike app, and they've got a map of where all the different bikes are based. They do have a couple outside of London, but most of them are in London. As you ride up Constitution Hill here, do remember that you cycle on the left of the fence and walk up the right hand side closer to the path. Unfortunately, it's quite badly designed in two respects. One is that there are no gaps in the fence to let someone who commits to the wrong path switch sides halfway up the hill, and the second is that the signs indicating which side is for who are pretty minimal and very easy to miss. Add to that it's mostly tourists around here who've not been here before, and you're almost certain to run into people walking on the wrong side, hopefully not literally. There's not really anything you can do about it, so just take it in your stride and watch out for people walking who may not be paying attention. Honestly, I think this whole section of Cycleway 3 around Hyde Park Corner is showing its age a little bit. It was the first proper cycleway in London, and some of the design choices haven't really stood the test of time. Mixing huge numbers of pedestrians here with usually huge numbers of people cycling, particularly at commuter times on the Toucan crossing, is really a bad idea. And it would be much better to provide separate crossings for bikes and people walking, and separate entrances into the park. There are different arches there that could be used. Weirdly, if you go back on Google Street View to 2009, you can see that there did actually used to be a separate crossing for bikes there, but it was changed to the current layout by 2014. Not really sure why they did that. It might have been to provide more space for people walking, which is obviously a good idea. But I reckon it wouldn't be too hard to do that whilst also separating cyclists and pedestrians. And I suppose at that point they probably couldn't have known how many people would actually be riding bikes through there, given the big growth in cycling since that scheme was conceived. We're taking a relatively straightforward route today, but if you do need a bit of extra help navigating it, then you can always download the map. That's free, it's linked in the description below the video, and you should be able to download it in a GPX file format, which is a standard format that should work on whatever app or device you prefer. While you're down there, you might also want to check out the map of all the different London cycle routes videos from this channel. That is a great way of browsing new routes, either in your part of London or parts of London that you're not familiar with. And thank you to viewer Isaac for keeping that up to date. I also don't mention as much as I should the Safe Cycle London map, which I also always link below the videos too. And for a good reason. It is a brilliant resource and, in my view, the best map of all the cycle infrastructure in London. And that will come in really handy if you ever want to plan your own routes or indeed just adapt videos from this channel for your particular personal circumstances. We're currently on the south carriage drive of Hyde Park, which has a nice protected cycle lane all the way down it. Regular viewers will know already though that since this cycle lane was built, through traffic has actually been removed from the road itself as well. So if you prefer to cycle on the main road there, you shouldn't really have any problem doing that as well. I don't think we've actually passed any moving cars. On our right beyond those trees is actually a horse ride as well, which is legally a bridle way, so it's fine to cycle on that too. Maybe fun if you've got a mountain bike or are looking for some difficult exercise. The last section of this route is through Kensington Gardens, and on paths shared with pedestrians. We reach them by using this crossing here and heading for the gate. Please do remember to be nice to people walking on these paths and give them plenty of space, as well as to not ride too quickly. If you're slightly stumped by which fork to take, don't worry, it's actually not that hard to work out because there are no cycling signs down every other pathway other than the one that you're allowed to go down and meant to go down. This path is called Mount Walk, and it has an unfortunate feature of these little cobble rumble strips on the ground installed by the Royal Parks Authority, which are slippery when wet and slightly painful to ride over, especially if you ride over them slowly. As you can see from the tyre tracks to the sides of the path whenever a cobblestone is approached, some people actually verge onto the grass to avoid having to ride over them. The best solution to this would actually be to build cycle lanes on Kensington Road, which runs parallel to the park, so that people don't feel that they have to ride on these paths to avoid mixing with heavy traffic. And frankly, I think most people would probably just use the more direct, safe route if that existed. For now though, this is definitely the best way to go despite the drawbacks. One thing to note is that Kensington Gardens does close at night, so if you need to do this route after dark, then you might have to cycle on Kensington Road, which runs parallel to it, though you can join the South Carriage Drive after a minute or two, and the South Carriage Drive and its cycle lane is open 24 hours. Another thing worth noting is that there are very often quite big crowds standing outside Kensington Palace here, just looking at the palace. That's because it's a tourist attraction due to being the official residence of the Prince and Princess of Wales. You can actually go inside and look at the staterooms, although I've never done so. The Crown Estate, which looks after this next bit in front of the palace, isn't a huge fan of cycling, and there's actually a sign asking you to dismount from your bike at the gate there. More oddly, just coming up, in the last year or so, they've also locked the main gate here, which you used to be able to cycle through, and seemingly posted a 24-hour guard here telling people to dismount and walk through the pedestrian gate. This is, in my view, really silly, and it's created a choke point that's definitely worse than just having the gate open. But whatever, you turn left here on Palace Green and it takes you straight to Kensington High Street, but not before you've passed this security gate. If you're coming in the opposite direction, there's actually a bar gate there, but if you cycle at it, the guards will actually open it for you without questions. So we are here, we're on Kensington High Street, and I'd say this is a good place to end the video. Thank you very much for watching the whole thing. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, do hit subscribe as I post new videos every week. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button as it does help other people find it on YouTube. It boosts it in the algorithm. And thank you once again to everybody who supports the channel on Patreon. I really appreciate it. And if anybody else wants to join them, then you can find a link in the description below the video. Do let me know in the comments what you think of that. Would you take a different route? What changes would you like to see along it? What do you think of that 24-hour guard posted at Kensington Gardens? Kind of think it's a bit weird personally, but I'm open to other analyses. I will see you all again next time. Goodbye.